What's up, everybody? Welcome to the latest edition of Jets Latest, where you get the latest on the Jets, Jets. I'm your host, the spitting statistician, Dane Martinez, and today what I wanted to do was talk a little bit more about Justin Fields and his kind of progression, his maturity, because, listen, we have found our QB1, in my opinion. But the other thing is, there's a couple of other Jets that actually shined in the preseason opener against the Packers that kind of flew under the radar as signings from Dane Martinez in the offseason, and I think it's important to shine a light on them, because here at Jets Latest, we talk about everybody from the Pro Bowlers and All Pros and the cornerstones like Sauce and Garrett Wilson, all the way to the depth pieces that you need to know about to really keep it locked in on the green and white. And so today, I wanted to talk a little bit first about Andrew Beck, who was a signing in the offseason from Dane Martinez. And actually, you saw him on the first drive. He performed well, so well that he got a 93.6 PFF grade on Saturday, right? He was the highest rated Jet, was actually the second highest rated offensive player in the entire NFL in the first week of the preseason, behind only Jamar Chase. He had 2 catches for 36 yards. He had 2 targets, but listen, we signed him to a 1-year, $1.34 million deal back in March. It was an early signing from Dane Martinez, Aaron Glenn, and he again embodies a lot of the stuff that we have been talking about in terms of these character traits that Glenn and Muji were looking for. Listen to some of the stats he has so far in his career, right? He played as a tight end and then moved to fullback in 2023. He played for Dane Martinez for the Broncos from 2019 to 2022. So Martinez was eminently familiar with him, right? Not gaudy stats, 25 catches, 214 yards in 22 career starts. But here's what I think is interesting. He has lined up all over the field, 32% of the time in line. In the backfield, 51% of the time. 10% out wide, 12% out wide and 4% in the slot. There's that versatility again, right? And then the consistent hands. We've talked about this with guys like Josh Reynolds. We've talked about this with guys like Mason Taylor. And Beck was there as well. He's caught 25 of his 38 targets, 65%. That's pretty good for a guy out of the backfield. Quarterbacks have a 95-plus passer rating targeting him. He only has 2 drops and averages 6 yards a catch. Now, he did more than that in the opener, but again, this is an interesting piece here that can be versatile as that little H-back that we talked about, from the fullback, from the tight end position, having that experience, being able to give Tanner Engstrand more tools to play with so they could look multiple. They can put him in motion to create mismatches, and he certainly on Saturday looked to be a decent check down option for Justin Fields. The other thing I want to talk about here on this is, remember, I have said our new offensive coordinator, Tanner Engstrand, not only was a good play caller, we saw on Saturday, not only had that experience at Detroit where they had a good offense, but was instrumental in terms of developing the tight ends recently of the Detroit Lions, okay? I'm talking about TJ Hawkinson. I'm talking about Sam Laporta, who have all been strong tight ends. And we've been talking about, could he be developing Ruckert and Smart? What does that mean for Mason Taylor? But put Andrew Beck in there as an under-the-radar piece that could be there for Justin Fields. Now, let's talk a little bit more about Justin Fields, right? People are saying he had a good drive, but here on Jets Latest, we have been talking about his development, his maturity, and his progression ever since the beginning of his career, right? His completion percentage continuing to go up, his passer rating continuing to go up, and the potential of a second act quarterback finally in an organization that believes in him. I draw comparisons to Jared Goff in Detroit, Baker Mayfield in Tampa, and others who look night and day different when they have a next stop, when a team builds around him. And I really believe that Justin Fields is maturing in that way, and he was asked about this in terms of kind of shutting out the noise, shutting out the criticism. Listen to what he had to say. Asked about tuning out the critics. He says, well, no, I haven't been good about it. I've learned over the years that no matter what you do, everyone's going to have an opinion, and opinions don't matter whether they're good and bad. The only opinions that matter are the guys in the building. Doesn't matter if you're Tom Brady, Patrick Mahomes, or somebody else. So I just focus on my teammates, my coaches, and try to get better every day. You know what I also like about this? This is kind of echoing, mimicking stuff that Aaron Glenn has said about him. Aaron Glenn, from the top all the way down, they are putting this kind of culture of competitiveness, work ethic. It's about what's inside the building, not like Robert Saleh in the media, stuff like that. Listen to what Glenn said, really mimicking that same tone, that same approach from Justin Fields. He goes, there's so much noise on the outside. And again, I've told you guys this and I've told them this. He's going to get criticized for every little thing. And the good thing about him is he's so mature, and we talk about this on a consistent basis. He doesn't care. The only thing we care about is how is he operating? Is he getting better? We see that in-house. So we love where he is right now. Does he have ways to go? Absolutely he does. Is he going to continue to work? Absolutely he will, because that is just who he is. This, again, is the tone, the character, the culture of someone who has that quiet confidence and is on the precipice of really performing better as that kind of second act quarterback that has, like I said with Baker or Jared Goff, helped turn franchises around, go to the playoffs, win divisions, and become contenders if the fan base can be patient with that progression. So continue to see good things from Justin Fields. Another Jet, though, that I want to talk about who had a decent preseason opener and is under the radar is the punter, Austin McNamara. Okay, remember, first of all, right, the Jets had to sign Nick Folk as a place kicker. Why? Because Caden Davis and maybe Mevis didn't do it, didn't look so good. The same did not have to happen for the punter position. Remember, we released Morstead in the offseason, going with that youth, going with that competition. Kai Kroger was someone who we had, but we released him. It is now Austin McNamara, and he had a very nice opener against Green Bay. Check this out. He had 3 punts, averaged 47.7 yards gross and net punting. There were no returns against his punts. Why? Maybe because of an average hang time of 4.46. All of those punts were inside the 20. The Jets punt coverage team, where we saw guys like Quentin Stiggers and others getting down there. They also forced a fumble on special teams. That is something that this Jets defense has been preaching, the takeaways, right? And listen, you see a 47-yard average, but really, he had a 53-yarder. He had a 54-yarder. The one that brought down the average was like a pooch punt that he got inside the 10-yard line, okay? The hang time was there. By the way, that 4.46 hang time would have been good for our 8th best, the top 10 mark in the NFL last year. And only 3 punters had that combination of hang time and net average distance, okay? And all 3 of them were Pro Bowl, all-pro caliber punters at the NFL level. They have all been all-pro punters before. Remember, McNamara was a 4-time All-Big 12 punter. The all-conference punter, all 4 years at school, was an all-American punter. So the youth movement, remember, I've been talking about this, can happen and has happened all across this roster, including special teams, where now Nick Folk and Tyrod Taylor are really the only players on this roster that are in their 30s. This is a new regime. They are learning from Aaron Glenn, building the culture collaboratively, and boy, oh boy, did we see that come to spades here in the opener. So now we keep moving forward in tomorrow's edition of Jets Latest. We'll talk about what we see at the Jets-Giants joint practices. I'll continue to give you the real. I'll continue to give you the stats, the quotes, the analysis on everything for the Jets, Jets. But I also want to let you guys know that I am really excited about the community we are building here at Jets Latest. I like to read out some of the comments. Thank you for liking the videos, subscribing to the channel. We're up over 2,000 subscribers in just a couple of months. I appreciate it. And always hit me up, okay? I like to engage with you, whether it's here or on my social medias at Spittin' Speeds. Let's see what some of you guys had to say. James Baker, 6128, says, Dane, we are developing a new brand of football, and you've been calling it, brother. More work to do, but we are on our way. Thank you so much. I do believe that a lot of the stuff I've been saying here on Jets Latest, from the draft to the culture to what we are looking like and why we are doing it, is starting to come to pass, and now other people are getting on the gravy chain. But if you want to get the real, Jets Latest is the place to be. At Samsonite 693 says, a healthy Quinnen will have a great year next to these D linemen. Remember, we talked about Jay Tufele, and that was even without a Byron Cowart. We talked about Leonard Taylor, right? So if those guys can just be average to above average, with Quinnen Williams next to them, with the young edge rushers, Jermaine Johnson, Will McDonald. Jermaine Johnson activated off the PUP list. We're really excited about that. And this top flight secondary that we expect to have under Aaron Glenn, it really could be a top unit on the defensive side. And then at MG8812 says, I'm sorry, but I'll continue to repeat this for a while. Fields, a.k.a. the Dark Knight Rises in New York. Be there. Go Jets. And I agree. Listen, we keep on talking about it. Justin Fields, never had that support in Chicago or in Pittsburgh, never had this offensive line in Chicago or in Pittsburgh, never had an organization that believed in him and built around him in Chicago or in Pittsburgh. So the arrow is pointing up. It certainly looked good against Green Bay. We'll see what it looks like against the G-Men this weekend. All right. So that'll do it for this episode of Jets Latest. I also want to tell you, with all the comments and stuff, you can also now not only subscribe to the channel, but join to be kind of an insider on Jets Latest. And we're going to start doing exclusive kind of things, exclusive videos, some giveaways, some recognition out there. So if you really want to be an insider with Jets Latest, there is a button over there. Smash that button and you can get even closer, even more down as a regular with Jets Latest. All right. And remember, if you want more from me, spitting statistician Dane Martinez, I am also the host of the FTN Fantasy Show over on SiriusXM channel 87. That's the fantasy channel. I came to this work in sports betting and fantasy sports. All right. And I host that show with fantasy football season on the horizon. We're helping you out there. FTN Fantasy is a great website. Rankings, tools, data, content, all sorts of stuff to be a better fantasy player and a better sports bettor. We're over there helping you win your leagues and win that cash. But if you are just locked in to the green and white, Jets Latest is the place to be. I see some new commenters, some new subscribers. Thank you to all of that. We are here every single day in what should be a really fun season for the Jets, Jets. So subscribe and tell a Jets fan friend to tell a Jets fan friend. We'll be back tomorrow, but for this episode of Jets Latest, we out of here. Peace.